Welcome back. We have breaking news of a major fire during renovation at Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral. The fire, which broke out around 6:50 p.m., according to a spokesperson for the Basilica. You're seeing live images of the structure. Let's cross live to France 24's Charlie James. Charlie, tell us where you are.
Francois, I am just on the north side of the cathedral, and I can say it is never going to be the same. I am watching now as the flames have almost reached the top of the steeple. As parts of the roof collapse, people are gasping, holding their hands over their face, a ton of emotion. I was able to get in front of the cathedral for a brief moment with my press pass before the police moved everyone out of the way, and just the amount of yellow smoke is incredible. Running over here from my house, just about 10 minutes away, the entire city was at a standstill. Like, no one moving at all, just looking at the skyline, looking at the smoke, looking at this, one of the most recognizable monuments of Paris, going up literally in flames. The fire almost reaching the top of the steeple right now. Just the entire crowd taking photos. The police have cordoned off the side streets. I am about as close as people are allowed to get right now. I see people hanging out of their apartment buildings, just witnessing what could be the end of this beautiful monument, at least as it was.
There was the first day of celebrations for Holy Week, leading up to Easter. Charlie, some 13 million tourists visit Notre Dame every year. We're looking at some images that are coming through from social media. Tell me, what's the situation regarding fire vehicles where you are? Can you see them?
I can hear fire vehicles making their way to the scene, even from my apartment, which is in the 4th arrondissement. Again, about 10 minutes away, I started hearing fire vehicles before I even heard about the news. The police are actually pushing us back across this side street more. But I mean, as you mentioned,
where exactly are you, Charlie? Tell us.
I am on Rue Maison and Rue Chenoiseries. So just north of, on the side of the cathedral. So I am near the back part of the cathedral. I can see the gargoyles looking towards me. They so far are untouched near the mid part of the cathedral. But the roof, I have been sitting here for about 15 minutes just watching it disintegrate in the fire. It was probably about 3/4 of the way burned when I arrived. There is now just the back part remaining. I assume they are pushing us back because there is more of a danger that with pieces falling off, we can see pieces on fire falling down from the cathedral roof, and it's possible that those could also catch fire on other parts of it. But as you mentioned, it is Holy Week, so there are even more visitors than usual here. And the renovation of Notre Dame is something that the city has been grappling with, trying to find funds to keep the cathedral in good condition, even though people do pay to get to the roof of the cathedral, because it's still a functioning Catholic church. People don't pay to go inside.
Right.
So there's actually not enough money coming in from visitors to pay for all of the renovations and keeping it in working. Sorry, I'm being moved right now. They are moving us off.
So, Charlie, you're on the island of La Cité, where Notre Dame is, in the dead center of the French capital. The Notre Dame fire is being commented on by the mayor, Anne Hidalgo, tweeting in the past minutes that the fire department is trying to bring this blaze under control. We are mobilized on the scene with the Paris diocese. I invite everyone to respect the security perimeter, she says. Charlie, you're telling us you're being moved back.
Yes, they are moving us back. I can see helicopters overhead as well now. So at first when I arrived, I'd say about 15 minutes ago, people were still able to access these side streets just one over from the cathedral. And even with my press badge, they were still letting press in front of the cathedral. That ended soon after. So now we're seeing people gather right on the banks of the Seine. So you have on the island, both the street right on the river and then across the river as well. And we're seeing crowds of people watching, holding their phones up, pacing this fire as it just continues to burn this roof. I mean, at this point, I guess we have to hope that it doesn't spread to the middle part, but I don't see, from what I'm seeing, I don't see how the roof can be saved.
The cathedral, which dates back to the 12th century, the fire breaking out again. If you're just joining us here on France 24 at 6:50 p.m., that's some 50 minutes ago. That's when it was first spotted. And it's happening as renovation was starting to get underway. Our reporter Charlie James, who is on the Isle of La Cité, what are you, some 500 meters, 400 meters away from the scene?
I am just 2 city blocks away from it. I can see the sky just filled with smoke to the south of here. The smoke is gray and yellow and being lit up by the red of the flames that are still not under control at all. I can hear more and more emergency vehicles across the Seine from the Ile that I'm on, in front of the Hotel de Ville, so the main city hall of Paris. The square is just packed with people right now who are just at a standstill, stopping and watching, and more people going across the bridge towards that area as they're being pushed out by the police. Francois, I'm going to try to see if I can get an eye on the roof again and move more towards.
Yeah, because the originally the flames were seen shooting from the spire. You're saying it's the whole roof now.
Right. So when I was just able to see a few minutes ago, they had almost reached the entire spire, and I would say about more than 3/4 of the roof to the back was already burned, and I was seeing parts of it fall off as each piece would collapse into itself. People in the crowd gasping, putting their hands over their mouths. A really emotional scene here in Paris as it really, the boats, so there's a bateau mouche boat, one of the tourist boats that has come to a standstill in the middle of the Seine River. These are the boats that usually go through around for tourists. It has come to a stop right in front of the cathedral, with everyone just turned and watching as it burns.
Yeah, just to remind our viewers, the Notre Dame Cathedral is on a small island that was the original founding place, Paris, before it was even called Paris, so you have those tourist boats that every night on a spring night like this one will be going back and forth around the island. You're saying, Charlie, that you're seeing one of those tourist boats which has come to a standstill.
Yeah, there are actually 3 now that have just stopped in the middle of the Seine River to just take a look as the spire is almost burned all the way to the top. I can see it once again, and I would say there's maybe 3 yards left before the flames reach the very top.
We're getting a better view now, and we're seeing that the flames have gone into that spire all the way to the summit of it. The French media quoting the Paris Fire Brigade as saying that this fire is potentially linked to the renovation work that had been going on inside of the roof. At this point in time, how big a crowd around you where you are, Charlie?
So I have actually walked down onto the road just along the water. It's called the Quai aux Fleurs, and there's a small sliver between buildings where you can see the spire, and there's a crowd just lined up right in the sliver of this apartment building. Again, the police coming, though, and trying to move people along, but everyone just sitting here watching as the flames go up that spire. And you can see all the scaffolding that's around the spire with that renovation, which is also, you can see the spire on fire beneath it as well. And people just sitting and watching, taking photos. The police, again, trying to move people. So as the flames move up and up the spire, more and more people are being moved off the island. Maybe you can hear the police.
So just to remind us, you're which part? You're the north, the south, the east, or the west of the Ile de la Cité, of the island?
I am on the north side of the island.
So on the city hall is across the Seine from you.
Right. So I am across from the center.
And at this point in time, are you seeing again more of those rescue services coming through?
So I can hear them right now. I mean, from all directions, I can hear the emergency vehicles. I can see on the bridges, ambulances and fire trucks blocking them off, keeping traffic from coming. And from every direction, I can hear sirens. I see them coming from across the way as well. So it seems as if this is kind of an all-hands-on-deck situation here in Paris to try to get as many emergency vehicles as possible to the area. I'm going to try to go to the back of the cathedral right now, but there are fewer and fewer people actually on this island as the police are as they keep moving people away.
So the police gradually increasing the security perimeter. If you're just joining us here on France 24, a major fire breaking out at one of the French capital's landmarks, the Notre Dame Cathedral, the 12th century structure where the roof had been undergoing renovations. The fire brigade stating it's potentially linked to those renovations, this blaze breaking out, which has affected all of the roof. France 24's Charlie James is at the scene. And Charlie, at this point in time, we're seeing these images coming through of basically all of the shillings on the roof, which are now going up in flames.
And interestingly, Francois, as I am going across the city, I am seeing evacuations happen as well. People, older people coming out in wheelchairs from their apartments, people bringing their animals. I'm now turning to the back of the cathedral, so I am just on the opposite side from the main plaza in front of it. Just to give our viewers an update, it is a terrible scene here. The roof has entirely collapsed. There are flames coming out of the back of the cathedral as if it was a torch. It looks like the Olympic torch from the back, with flames coming out of the roof. The flames have reached almost to the entire top, and the bottom half looks like a shell. I mean, I imagine soon
we're seeing a live view, Charlie, from the City Hall, from the right bank of the River Seine, across to that central island where Notre Dame Cathedral is. I just want to bring in at this point architect Marc Mimran. Your reaction to what's going on?
It's completely awful now. It's the damage is terrible. You can imagine that the structure of the roof has been made of wood from the 13th century. Everything is under the flame now. I think everything is going to fall down. We have also the flesh, which has been built by Viollet-le-Duc in the 19th century. The spire that will fall down in a minute. I think it's a terrible thing. It's awful for the patrimoine. The whole cathedral will be under the fire in a minute. Not only the roof, but I hope it will not fall down on the cathedral.
Now we're seeing white smoke, so there is obviously water being poured on it.
Great.
What can the fire brigade? How should the fire brigade approach this?
It's very difficult. I don't know if they can go under up to the roof, because the cathedral is 100 meters long, and so they have to run all over the place. I think it's going to be very difficult, and it will last for a long time, and the damage will be very, very important.
Oftentimes during renovations, I mean, right now again, we're just the Paris Fire Brigade saying that it's potentially linked to the renovation, but it is often that blazes break out during renovation, Marc Mimran.
Yes, it's not the first time. It's very sad that it's not the first time that we can see this kind of damage on patrimoine, on monument like that made out of wood. It has been already done in the west of France, in Nantes, and monuments like that.
Marc Mimran, people think of Notre Dame Cathedral, they think of the stone on the outside. You're saying that it's wood on the inside.
Yes, it's made out of wood, and the structure has been made of wood. It's called the forest because it has so many timber members, and it has been renovated in the 13th century. The whole timber cathedral has been made in.
All right, the connection is breaking up slightly, but we heard you say there that some of the materials inside are from the 13th century. Charlie James, again, we're seeing huge crowds across the river that have gathered on the right bank of the Seine in front of City Hall watching. Tell us what's the latest where you are.
Right, I am in one of those crowds right now. In fact, they are systematically, the police, pushing people off of the Ile de la Cité, where the Notre Dame Cathedral is. I think they are fearing more and more for people's safety, as this blaze is not contained at all right now. We are watching as parts of the spire are falling off and down onto the scaffolding below. And still right now, it looks as if the flames are coming out of the roof. I do not see the middle part, at least from the back where I am right now, is not on fire yet, but I mean, huge flames pouring out of the top of the cathedral with the spire almost entirely burned. As I said earlier, the crowd's just at a standstill here. Everyone on their balconies, on the streets, holding up their phones, taking videos of this horrible scene. And I'm seeing from the back, at least, plumes of white and yellow smoke as well. And then as it mixes with the sunset, getting darker and black and orange on the end. I'm sure, as you can hear, the emergency vehicles continuing to come from all directions onto the island here where Notre Dame is located. But
tell us. You can see from their vantage point the plumes of smoke at this point.
I can. I mean, it's
and is that what's the color of the smoke?
So at the closest to the spire and the roof, it is almost a yellowy white. And then as it rises up into the sky, it is getting darker gray. And then it looks like, because of the time of the day, the sun is setting here. Oh, Francois, I can now see actually water from what I assume to be the fire brigade pouring onto the roof. This is the first I've actually seen from my vantage point in the back that I have seen the water, the attempts to put out these flames coming onto the back. But I can, for the first time, see hoses pouring onto the roof of the cathedral. So it does appear that the fire brigades have reached the back of Notre Dame. But pieces continuing to fall off of the spire. I can't imagine that it's going to be able to hold on much longer, seeing how the middle part is starting to collapse.
Let's cross over to historian Fabrice d'Almeida. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24. Earlier, we spoke with architect Marc Mimran, who talked about the fact that Fabrice d'Almeida, we spoke with architect Marc Mimran earlier, who said that there are the structure on the inside made of wood, materials in there, some of them dating back to the 13th century. What's your reaction to the images we're witnessing?
Yeah, for France, it's a big catastrophe because the cathedral is not only a Christian monument, it's also a kind of reminder for the whole country, for the whole republic, because there were some celebrations for presidents of France in the late 19th century, and even de Gaulle had a mass, had a funeral in the cathedral. So many Republicans, it's not only a problem of Christianity or a problem of Christians, it's really a problem of French people looking at their past and seeing it burning.
Yeah, we remember the bells tolling on August the 25th, 1944, when the city was liberated from the Nazis.
And de Gaulle came there. That very day, on the 26th of August, de Gaulle went there to have a Te Deum, to have a special celebration for the liberation of France, for the liberation of Europe. So it's huge, and it's huge not only for France, I think, because many people in America, in England, and everywhere around the world know this place, not only because of the postal cards, but also because of Victor Hugo and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was really a book read worldwide. So many of them have a special relationship with that building, with that cathedral. So I think that it's not only the French will be moved by this catastrophe, but also many people around the world.
I remember in my youth, Rouen Cathedral, they were still renovating it from World War II. It took decades after it was bombed during World War II How long will it take? One has to wonder if we're witnessing the roof about to collapse,
Yeah.
possibly.
If the roof collapses, it would be a very, very bad catastrophe because it can also damage all the structure of the building. So, the Cathedral of Rouen was really destroyed, but it was also the case in Reims. And it took decades to reopen the monument and to have it back as it was as it always has been. So I think that we will have a huge work to save this monument, and I think that the fire brigade is doing its best in the moment. And what is crazy is that for years, historians, architects, and many people wanted the cathedral to have some works to prevent the use of the time, the effects of the time. And now we see that a fire is making something worse in a shorter time. It's really bad for many of us.
All right. The French President Emmanuel Macron has canceled a speech, an important
Yeah.
speech he was supposed to give at the top of the hour after his conclusions after those town hall style meetings that he's been taking place. That speech has been postponed. We've also had a tweet from the U.S. President Donald Trump saying, "So horrible to watch the massive fire at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Perhaps flying water tankers could be used to put it out. Must act quickly." That tweet from Donald Trump. The most important tweet so far coming from the Paris mayor, Anne Hidalgo, urging citizens to respect the security perimeter as the firefighters try to bring the blaze under control. France 24's Charlie James is at the scene of this fire, which broke out was first declared around 6:50 p.m. That's exactly an hour ago. Charlie, what's the latest where you are?
Francois, the moment that everyone feared was coming has happened. I was standing here just a couple of minutes ago when the fire completely fell down. You could hear gasps from the crowd audibly saying, "No, no." I'm looking at the back part of the cathedral, and the fire is completely gone. There was a huge cloud of smoke that flew up into the air as it collapsed. I'm also seeing the fire brigades. There's water coming from on the roof of the cathedral to the side. So the fire brigade has actually gotten inside of the cathedral itself onto the side of the roof. If I can try to describe exactly where I'm seeing them, there are the two towers in the front. I can actually only see the one tower, the north tower, because of all the smoke right now. But behind that tower, to the back of the cathedral, there is water from the fire brigades being shot into the worst parts of the flames, which is just in the center of the cathedral where the spire was. But the spire is completely gone. And
yeah, just to tell people, these are not live images we're showing right now. These images are from slightly earlier when the spire was still standing. These are live images we're showing now, Charlie. And wow, we're seeing the flames now really engulfing the whole of the roof. Before it was about a third when we first started reporting on this story some 25 minutes ago. And now it's the entirety of the roof that's up in flames. So it's not under control by any means, Charlie.
No, not at all. And, before the entire spire fell, we started seeing pieces come down. And it was almost this horrible sense of anticipation where we all knew what was coming and the crowd just at a standstill anticipating it. And finally it happened. And you could hear the crowd visibly and audibly upset about it and gasping. And as I said, as soon as the fire fell, there was an eruption of smoke that came out from the center. So the fire was, as our viewers might be able to see from the images, surrounded by this scaffolding from the construction that was going on. And the spire fell towards the kind of southeast of the cathedral is the direction that it fell, and just a huge amount of smoke. And there's still pieces of the roof collapsing. So there are some smaller parts on the side, sort of smaller spires, and they're continuing to burn and fall as well. It is the fire brigades. I can see the water pouring into the center of the cathedral, but it is not under control at all at this time.
All right, and you were telling us that because remember, just to remind our viewers, Notre Dame Cathedral is in the dead center of Paris on a tiny island between the left and the right bank. You were reporting earlier, Charlie, that the tourist boats that go around the island were at a standstill earlier.
That's right. So I first learned about this from a friend of mine who was on the banks of the river. It's a popular place for people to hang out in the afternoon, and she started seeing smoke and wrote me. And as I was running over here from my house about 15 minutes away from the cathedral, I could just see people stopped along the side of the river. Paris is packed with tourists at this time of day, but to see everyone just at a standstill on the side, I've never seen that before in my time here, and everyone just looking towards the center of Paris. And as I move forward towards the bridges, again, everyone stopped. I was able to get to the front of the cathedral, I would say about 25 minutes ago, and you could see the smoke coming from the back. You could not see flames in the front at that time. So it appears to me, if I was going to say that the fire started in the center, that is where the worst damage looks to me. Then as the police continued to push people away from the cathedral more and more, we were pushed back from, one street away to 2 streets away to completely off the island. I can see the bridges, a couple of the bridges leading off the island, and there are still a few people coming out of across the bridges. It's an island, but it's not just the cathedral. There are restaurants, there are apartment buildings, there are government buildings, lots of actually state and government buildings on this island. So it's safe to assume that there are lots of people beyond tourists, people just in their apartments, at their offices, at cafes on this island as well. So the police have been having to move everyone off little by little, and now the biggest crowds are here on the side across the river from this island. And yes, as I was being moved across, I was seeing tourist boats that normally go around these islands, go down to the Eiffel Tower, and they were just at a standstill. First 1, then 2, then 3, with everyone just on the side of the boat looking and watching as the roof burns.
All right, Charlie James, stay with us. I want to Fabrice D'Almeida, historian, also. We're going to hand over to Laura Baines as we continue to cover this story here on France 24. So sorry.